Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to our Adobe Live today here in the UK at midday. Now, just very quickly, if you're watching us on YouTube, scurry away from there as quickly as you can and come along and join us on behance.net/Adobe Live, where you can ask questions in the chat because that's the one we actually look at. Okay, and you can ask questions of me and you can ask questions of our fabulous guest who today is none less than Philip Trautmann. How are you doing, Philip?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me, Tony.
Oh, it's great to see you here. I'm really looking forward to today's session, in which we'll find out more about in just a second. First of all, let me welcome a few people into the chat because, Philip, we have a great community here. Lots and lots of people who attend just about every session, if not absolutely every session. From Germany, we have Andreas, so a countryman of yours, I believe, from there. So Andreas is here. Tim, some guy, I don't know what he does. It's some crazy guy. Jackie's here. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. Kanan, good to see you. I hope I'm saying that correctly. We've got Angus. Hi, Angus, you superstar. In there, we've got Steve from New Zealand. Kia ora, Steve. And we've also got Sean, also from Germany, I think, at the moment, or in Germany, or there we go, one of the above. We've got Oliver's here, Sandrine, bonjour, Sandrine, and Stefan is here. Amazing, so many people. So welcome, everyone. And hey, Philip, tell us, what will you be doing with us today?
Today, I want to show everyone how easy it is to get started with type design. Okay. And I'm going to do this by creating a very basic sans serif font. Yeah. And I'm going to draw the letters and I'm going to show you how fonts are basically just based on a grid, on a simple grid, and follow certain rules. And so it's a lot of fun. And hopefully I can get any one of you to try out font design for themselves as well, because I think every designer should at some point try this out. It may be your passion, like it's for me, but also you get a better understanding on how typography works and how you can use fonts in your designs.
Yep. No, fantastic. Do you know what? That at some point in the future, that would make a good challenge. I'm going to make a note of that in just a moment. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. So, are you showing anything first, or are we going to dive straight into it and chat about what you do, outside of this, and how do you want to play it?
I just want to dive right into it.
Dive straight in.
Straight and get right straight, yeah.
In that case, let's take it away, and I'll chat to you as we go and find out a bit more about you. Because you have an agency, don't you, with you and a colleague have...
Yes, right. So we've got a...
Shaped, isn't
it? Yes, right. It's called Shaped, and we have a design agency, Shaped Agency, and we have a font foundry, Shaped Fonts.
Cool.
And we actually were lucky to have big brands like Netflix, Melita, or Ferrero in our portfolio. And that's
wow.
So it's mostly UI UX design for the agency, and then font creation for the font foundry, of course.
Fantastic. Wow, that's really cool. Okay, then. Right. So you're in Illustrator. Let's go.
Yeah, so you could also start with a white sheet of paper to sketch, but I already have something in mind I want to create, so I just got right into Illustrator with a new artboard. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stem. So this will determine on how bold the font is going to be and how tall and the general width of the font. Yeah. So I'm just going to do that by opening up a rectangle, drawing the shape here, and then just going to create it, make it a little bigger, and then we can change this afterwards. But this is like the beginning of our font.
Yeah,
and I like to start with an H, and so it's very simple. You just duplicate this shape right here.
Yes.
And then you can also already decide on how big you want the gap to be between those two stems. I want the font to be very very narrow, and I want it to be like a smooth, bold headline display font. So very simple font to start with, because I think you shouldn't start with a complicated font like a script font or something like that.
No,
it's always a good idea to just start with the most basic, and I think a headline font, a display font can give you that, because you also only have to create the uppercase.
Yep.
And that will be fine. You can skip the lowercase.
Yep.
And
once you've got that cap height, right, everything stems from that. Yeah, because that's the definer for your point size. In the internal spacing in a letter H like that, do you just eyeball it to get a space that is just right for you, or is there sort of a calculation you arrive at to do that, sort of a proportion of the actual stems themselves?
No, it's basically just eyeballing. So I I just look at the letter, and whatever feels right, I then stop. And this is also something that develops over time when you're creating the font. So maybe I will be changing this later. So yeah, just to get this first letter started. And now we also can create our guidelines. So we have our baseline, of course, that's where the font sits on. And then we have as you said, the cap height here. And yeah, this will help us to really build this on a grid.
Yeah.
And now I'm adding a crossbar right here. And I can also fill those. And there are a lot of design decisions I have to make now, because I can make this crossbar a little bit more bold, and I can make it a little bit smaller in the width, and I can put it a little bit more down here so that the X height is a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And so it still looks like a very basic H with no really much of a character to it. And so I'm going to start by round up the corners. Just going to select the direct selection tool, and then I will, whatever feels good, round up the corners a bit. So I want the font to be very smooth and have as much character as possible, because with display fonts you don't really have that much area of freedom, because they are based on a strict grid.
Yeah.
But with those little details, you really can create the character. And I
instantly think rounding makes something more friendly, right? Because no sharp angles. You've got
yeah. Okay, my zoom bar is kind of in the way. Okay, it's gone now.
There you go. So this is turning out to be very, very handy for somebody in the chat here. Daryl is actually working on a font right now, so it's finding this very, very useful.
Okay, is it your first font?
Yep. I don't know if it's his first one. Is it your first one, Daryl? Let us know. Let's find out.
So yeah, I think I will do it a little bit less, and then just take the 8-pixel corner radius. Yeah, and I think that is kind of how I want the font to look like. I want the X height to be a little bit lowered so that it has more like a vintage retro look to it, and I want the gap between those two stems to be as small as possible. So just that the font really looks like a very bold font.
Yeah. And you can afford to do that with a display font, right? Because normally designed to be used, of course, at large sizes. So you've got that latitude to do it. Yeah. Actually, Sandrine in the chat is also making a font at the same time as us. There you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to copy this part. And with the grid, you can really recycle most parts of letters you've already created to create new letters. And that's something when I understood that, it just made click, and I fell in love with type design because it's not that complicated to create most of the letters.
No.
If you're working on a strict grid. And so I'm just going to click the Option key and drag this right over here. So the Option key really becomes your best friend in this.
Yeah.
And
which are the do you have any particular characters that you routinely struggle with, you know, that are regular things like, oh man,
of course,
like Q and G?
Well, you have the letters which like take 2 seconds, like like the E.
Yeah.
And then you have the glyphs that take like hours.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's the S.
Yeah.
The G, and the W, and it depends on the font, but yeah, maybe also the A.
Yeah.
But fortunately, most of the characters really are pretty simple. So I want this font to say hello. So I'm just going to duplicate this E. And okay, now I just have to erase, delete those two rectangles, and I have got our L. So it's really pretty simple at that point.
Shaping up good.
And yeah, just going to
I'll tell you where I really feel that the work comes into it is in when you're actually doing all of the additional characters, like, you know, apostrophes, and of course, and all of those extra things that you do. That's where you think, oh man, my plan didn't work this far.
You shouldn't get the wrong idea by me just duplicating everything and then it's done. I think the alphabet, the Latin alphabet, is just like 10% of the work you have to do for a font. There's so much more. And even if you have all of those special characters, the numbers and everything else done, and you can export it as a font file, you still have to do the marketing. You still have to, like, if you want to sell it, create advertisements, create a corporate design language just for that font. You need to have a good name for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's so much more work than
it's so much more work. Yeah.
In the 80-20 rule, this bit really is kind of in the 20 region, isn't it? It's,
but it still feels like you're going on fast and you're like really getting work done. So it makes a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For the O, for example, I just have to draw a rectangle, and then I'm just going to round the corners again to a level where I feel comfortable. And I mean, that's basically our O. It should be blocky because that's the character of the font, which comes in handy now because it's pretty easy to make a blocky font. And for the counter, so for the middle part, just going to take this gap size, and this will be the counter of the O.
Nice.
So the great thing with the O is that very, very there are many letters that really are based on the O. So we got the C, we got the G, we got the Q, we got the D, the U, and even the S are based on me having that letter O done. So it's always a good idea to create the O first.
Yeah. So Jane's asking a question in the chat here. Is it necessary for the crossbars, such as the one in the middle of the E and the H, to always be at the same height?
No, it's not. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, you can do it, but I think if I would create those in the same height, like so, I think it would come too close to the lower part here. And so in this case, you can make exceptions. You don't have to follow every rule. I mean, it's good to follow most rules, of course, but in this case, you can also make little tweaks, and yeah, this will define the character of your font.
Yep.
So,
nice. Yep.
As I said, one thing to note, if you're creating an O, you should always make it a little bit larger than the other ones, because optically it will still look the same height, but with the amount of white space at the top and at the bottom, you have to compensate that by making it a little bit larger.
It's just one of those weirdness things, isn't it? It just suddenly looks as if it's smaller and out of place if you don't sort of overextend that particular character. In fact, anything with a strong curve, but especially an O. Yeah, so are we heading into Q territory now? Is that where we're going?
We can do that. I was going to create the G, but the...
Oh, no, carry on with it. No,
the
your plan.
The Q is fine as well, because you just have to add a tail to the lower part. And of course, we also need that 8-pixel corner radius. And then I also like the transform panel. Where is it? Oh.
Just there we go. There we go.
No. With the transform
panel, skew. Yeah.
You can get those angles right, because not every letter, as we will see with the A, is just with a strict it's just you know.
With the slant. The
same. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. So how long have you been designing fonts for? Approximately, roughly. Have you?
For 6 years now.
6 years. Cool.
Yeah, and I've created I think 15 fonts.
Yeah.
Over the years. And we have recently we hit 6 million downloads on the font.
Wow. That is really impressive. Excellent. Well done.
So now I'm going to create the G.
Okay.
And just have to cut, just subtract another rectangle from your existing shape with a pathfinder. And then you have many more different anchor points to work with. First, you have to round these up.
Do you have any fonts in Adobe fonts, by the way? That's another question from Jane, actually. She's asking where she could get hold of any of your fonts. And if they're on Adobe fonts.
Unfortunately, not yet.
No?
No.
I know someone.
Yeah, so most of them are just demo fonts with not all glyphs included. So that's basically our model. We create those limited fonts, and then we put them for free online, like on the font, and then we sell the full versions. But maybe something in the future.
Well, making no promises, but I do know someone. I'll make sure they know about it. I'm sure.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So there we go with the design decision. Should we take this part a little bit lower, or should we make it a little bit more? No. Okay. Different way.
Oh, you mean to be? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So,
I would. I don't know. If it was me, I would look at the E and see if the other thing as well is thinking about broadly the proximity it's likely to have to other letters. So, it's not, what it's going to, if it's going to be paired with any.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think, yeah. So we have like very little white space within the characters. So I think the G should like almost touch this part here. And this is another thing where we can like go against the rules and just
rules are there to be broken.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And we can just make this part a little bit wider. So optically it will still look fine, but we have more white space because when we zoom out the font, it is a display font and it doesn't need to work that great at small sizes, but we still want to try that it also works on smaller sizes. So I think I just
because of thumbnails, right? Thumbnails as well. Yeah. So it's a consideration that's relatively new, of course, when you're doing this. Normally display fonts expect big all the time, but of course the age of the thumbnail changed all of that. Sandrine's saying, but you need to know the rules to know what to break. This is true.
This is true, yes. Yep. Sure.
Yeah, and that's coming on good.
There's just this process where you're creating all these letters.
Yeah.
And then you still would go over every letter and really make some adjustments. So maybe later I will change this part, but I need to be able to create some words so that I really can get a feeling of how the font is working right now, and then I can change some things later. So these letters are not final, and you have to more like look at it like it's a draft. And yeah.
Do you ever print yours out and stick them on the wall so that you see them when you walk into a room? Yeah, I think
definitely. You should always print out your fonts, because they also look a little bit different when you printed them out than to just seeing them on a display.
Yeah.
So it's always a good idea. Also with screen sizes and print sizes, it's always a different thing.
Yeah. Now, I have a door opposite where I am right now, and I stick things on there when I'm working on them. I print them out, stick them on that door because it just goes to another part of the building. It's just an internal door. And I see it if I come in from the kitchen, or in through the front, I see it just there. And I kind of like that when you just catch things in your peripheral vision because it's so sharp.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So let me just show you how easy a D can be. So we're going to just select those both corners.
Yep.
And then we put in our 8 pixel, and then that's our D.
There you go.
It was like 5 seconds.
Yep. Boom. Done. Maybe. Next.
I could maybe have done it in 3, but that's
I think it was Sandrine a moment ago. The chat's very, very busy today. Was asking about, I think, fonts in different weights. If I'm correct, I'm just trying to find it now. Oh, how often do you adjust your letters according to the font size? If so, if yes, how many variations do you create? So I think she might mean weight. Do you create things of different weights to?
Of course, yeah. So I think you don't have to do this with every font because you don't need it with every font. This font, for example, it wants to be a very bold and smooth headline display font. So I'm not really sure if I would create a lighter version of it, but there are some fonts where it definitely makes sense to create different weights.
Yeah.
Just to be able to combine them in the design. And so I do this from time to time. Yes.
Yeah.
So can you guess which letter I'm going to do now?
I think this is going to be a U, and then immediately followed by a J. That's my guess.
Oh my God. Maybe. Okay, you already know how to play this game.
Sandrine is following up with some fonts. You can find letters differing at, say, 10 to 16 point, and then another variation for 20 to 24 point, and another variation for big titles. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think you mean things for like the copy, display, and so on, possibly. But
so kind of like the San Francisco font from Apple, where you have the I don't know how it's called, the title font, the standard font, and then the
so you get those purpose variations that you get. That possibly that. Because that's the thing, right? Is that things do change at those sizes, and it's
definitely.
Yeah. Steve is saying, how much work, I might be able to answer this for you, but you can, how much work is it to create a variable font like the ones in Adobe apps that can be manually adjusted for weights, etc.? Have you tried that?
It's actually not very much. It's not very much more work than if you're doing just the weights. You're just setting this up differently. It really depends on the app you're using to do this, but you're just creating like a very thin variant and a very thick variant, and then the app magically
calls for them. Right. It does. Yeah. You just basically need the characters there, Steve. You need the different characters there. The variable part, it isn't actually doing anything to change the geometry of individual characters. It's actually just swapping it out for a different member of a family. That's why there is so much variation in some of the fonts. It's just calling for it. And in fact, you can see that if you use them in Illustrator. Use a variable font and move it a little bit, okay? And you'll notice it just changes to a different member of the family. That's how it works.
I'm not quite sure about the J, but I think I'm going to leave it that way for now.
Now that's got a nice angle on it there.
Yeah, that's also something you could decide. You could think about hours to decide this.
Yeah,
how to create this angle, and so a font really can take a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve also in the chat has said Fontself is cool. In fact, we were talking about that in the green room, weren't we? It was Fontself is epic. It's very good.
Yeah, I actually wanted to use this. Hopefully I can if I have enough time at the end. So I'm creating the font in Illustrator just because of Fontself, because actually can create a whole font with just only Illustrator and Fontself. It's a very low cost plugin you can buy, and then you just can drag. You just being able to drag those letters into the
so
plugin,
simple,
and it's super simple, and it works like magic. It can even kern or space.
Yeah, all the metrics, does all of that stuff. Yeah, and that used to be the really hard stuff with font creation, was that with the matrix algebra calculations necessary to make. Not that I've ever done that, I'm pointing that out. So we're not having a session on matrix algebra, but that used to be the way to do it. So you could work out the variable spacing between characters and the kerning pairs, but it does do that automatically. And of course, made here in Europe, made in Paris,
France.
Yep. And if you're watching France or Mohammed, hi. Not that that's the only people there are, but they're my two buddies.
Salut.
Salut.
So maybe notice that I added this little shape here.
Yep.
Just thinking about adding even more character to this font with some letters. But I don't know yet if I'm going to keep this. But this is also something you could do. You could just try out stuff that makes the font look more original. How do you like this, Tony? Is this something we should keep?
I do like that, actually, especially given that it's just on the bottom. It actually literally makes a bridge.
Yes. Yeah, right.
There. I like it, yeah.
So we could call the font Bridge. We already got our name.
There we are, sorted.
So which one is next? Okay, the F basically is just an E without the lower part. So there we go. That's our F.
Nice.
Then of course the T.
And Sandrine saying it looks like the railway bridge in Brighton. There you go. It does.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And also on the Holloway Road. There you go.
And that's our I.
Yeah.
The I is the most simple letter you can
easiest
find.
Of the
easiest one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jane's saying one thing I've already learned, you don't start at the beginning of the alphabet. Absolutely not. You start where you like. You start with what you think is going to be the defining character of your font, right, Philip? Is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, with time, you get a feeling of which character needs to be done first, so that other characters can be created out of them. But basically, you could do it like you have the whole freedom to start wherever you like, and that's also is what makes font design so much fun, is that you can decide so many things. It's such a creative process in all, and you really are the chef. You can create it like you want. You have to follow the rules, okay, but there's so much freedom in it.
If you want to throw in a bit of paprika or whatever,
of course,
do it. Yeah, absolutely. I've got to be honest, from what you've done here, from the way you started, I worked on a Halloween font about 2 or 3 years ago. I was doing that for a book project, and I started with the H because it's the most prominent letter of Halloween. And of course, the next most prominent letters in Halloween are the L's and the E's, which have a relationship. So I went from H to E.
Yeah.
And when you were doing it, I thought, oh, maybe this is how everyone else does it.
I think it's intuitive. I think it's just something you start off with. It's funny. I didn't hear that before.
Yeah. And talking of Bridge has made Steve in the chat say they've added a bunch of features to Bridge lately. They have, and you can investigate those, people. Check out the workflows in Bridge. Really cool. There's even a special dedicated workspace for that, but there you are. Now, I'm going to be interested to see where you go with the R from the P there.
So, fun fact.
Yep.
Did you know that one of my fonts has been used by Donald Trump himself?
Oh.
Probably not himself, but it's
Really?
always a story I like to tell, because there was this one time when I don't know why, but I typed in Donald Trump in Facebook. I think it was because I wanted to see if he's like on Facebook, like he's on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then you have. Oh yeah, this was way back.
Yeah.
When he was still very active, and so if you go to the Facebook page, you have those little widgets with a shop. He has a shop, of course, and it only displays 3 recent items, I think, and one of them was a mug, which literally said, "I love waking up and thinking and remembering that Donald Trump is president," and it had my font on it, and it wasn't that easy to contact Donald Trump.
Not surprising.
And he didn't reply ever since. So that's the story of how I found my font. Just as a coincidence, in the Donald Trump official fan store.
There you go. Oh, well, I'll take your Donald Trump and raise you one. I made a movie for the Allied Forces Federation that was for the Obamas and for the chiefs. It was commissioned by the chiefs of staff. So, yeah.
Cool. Wow.
I had no complaints about that. I'd be very upset.
When was this?
That would have been in 2015.
Okay.
2015, 2016. Hard to remember now. When did it change up? No, it would have been just before 2018. So it was one of the last things they watched in their office. So
cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Time runs away.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't beat that.
Sandrine's saying about your font, I better use the free sample. Very funny. I'm not sure I should go along with that, but anyway. Yeah. And you're getting a lot of questions around that right now, Philip.
Yeah.
Did he steal your font, or was it paid for?
He stole it. Yeah, I never received any money for it.
No.
And I contacted him several times, and then after a few weeks, the mark just disappeared from the store, so it wasn't there then. And luckily, I have been able to order one for myself just a week before that. And it was so complicated to get that here.
Yeah,
the shipping and everything, and it cost me a lot of money. But I thought it was so funny that he would use this font. But yeah,
yeah. Okay, so here we go with there we are.
Yeah, there's
that direct relationship then that's coming along from the Q, of course. So how long have you been using Illustrator for, if you don't mind me asking?
That's gotta be 10 years now. Yeah,
10 years.
2012. Yeah. And with font creation, you can really exercise your pen tool skills, because there, as I said, there are some letters like the S that need a little bit more fine tuning with the anchor points, and then you really have to be good with the pen tool, or I really have to exercise the pen tool to get that right.
Yeah, that's where those tangents start to become really, really important, making sure that you've got nice, smooth.
Yeah. Especially with a text font, which should work at small sizes. This is like the
very tricky,
hardest font to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is developing a lovely character. And not just a character as in a glyph, but, you know, a character as in a personality.
Yeah.
So hard when you're talking type, isn't it? When you just... Oh, yes, this has really got a character all of its own. I'm sorry, a character. Oh, no.
So maybe there are already some words we could create with it.
We could.
It's kind of like Wordle. So what should we create?
Are you going to throw in some? Well, we've got hello. Shall we?
Maybe the chat has some ideas.
Yeah, it's like a British version of Countdown. There we go. Well, actually, Countdown is British. So there you go.
Okay.
So consonant, vowel,
5-letter word.
Consonant, vowel. When do we do the conundrum? Says Tim.
So any suggestions?
Yeah.
Would be
really good. Well, don't put an M in until the very last thing. Somebody's been playing with the alphabet soup, says Sandrine. Yep.
Maybe prize.
Yep. Are we after the longest one we could make?
Oh, that's a challenge too. Maybe someone can top that.
Yep. Aha.
So we now also have to do the kerning and spacing already, and want the font the letters to be very close, so that it looks even bolder.
Jackie's actually still wondering why there are 2 L's.
Just because I wanted to welcome you all to the stream with a hello.
See, there you go.
It's confusing.
Sometimes a hello is just a hello.
It is confusing. I'm going to delete it.
I think Jackie just thought there was some sort of functional reason for...
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I'm sure we could. Yeah, right. Okay. Sandrine's suggesting. Yeah, I'm going to leave that actually. Delightful would have been the longest word, says Tim.
Delightful.
Delightful.
Oh my God.
I think today's prize goes to Tim. Well done, Tim.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Cool. So yeah, and now I think we can alter this E a little bit. Just put this one a little bit more.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that, do you find that when you're designing something, you've got to actually make some words with it to see if they do actually work in that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I could also print this out now and pack all my walls full with it. And but I think it's a good idea to at the half point, when you're halfway through the font, to just put in some words to see if the font is working and if the character of the font is is feeling right. And I also think we should adapt the style from the H to the P. Makes sense to do that, I think.
Yep. Yeah, again, in with that bridge. I like that. I think it's...
Yeah.
And there's something about that, about adding that in, that kind of takes me back to the kind of Euro style or fonts of the 1970s, you know, when everything was space, and like things like the data type optical recognition early optical recognition stuff,
Mhm.
they were all curves in there, weren't they?
Mm.
Mm.
So which letter should we create next?
How about a Y? A Y.
A Y.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be good. Tim's just said, oh, with a Y added into the mix, you could make copyrighted. Tim is so sharp. So sharp.
He really is.
He is. Yes, Vanessa, we're talking about Tim Murbest. Oh man, you've made that look way too easy. That really did. Slide in there, just grand. So good. Is there just a tad more on the right-hand side though on it than there is on the left? Or is that my?
We can also check that.
Oh, you're doing what in my house we would call a mum measurement.
That's bad.
My wife refuses to use a tape measure. She gets, I mean, basically she uses like an SI approach to scientific approach to actually creating a measurement. She gets something of it that she knows and then takes it along and sees the relationship to something. So we call it mum measurements.
That's good. Now it should be symmetrical.
It is symmetrical. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It was I couldn't get over it.
No, it wasn't symmetrical. You had the right eye. Just had to duplicate this and reflect.
Nice. Yep. A couple of others had spotted that too. Actually, Jane had spotted it, thinking the same. I'm tilting my head, says Tim. It's sorry, that says Sean. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will go on now to the next one. It could be an A.
Yep.
An A should be time for an A now.
Yeah. Now I'm just wondering I've got a couple of ideas of how you might play this, so I'm kind of interested to see what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious. What do you think? How I'm going to do this?
Right. So what I'm interested to know is, are you going to stay on sort of the rectilinear? I was going to say rectilinear, the rectangle-based construction that you have mainly throughout the family, or is the A going to have a slant and be a slight outlier to the? That's what I'm curious to know.
Okay. So it will have.
Yep.
To quickly answer that, I think like the Y, some letters can have that angle. It don't have to be that strict with the grid.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be very high.
It's got to be a sort of a fairly steep
Yeah.
angle, right, to make it work properly. Otherwise, it looks like it comes from somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think 10 is fine.
Yeah.
I think. Just going to try this.
Vanessa saying there's a plugin for glyphs. I used to know that the tax is more expensive than the price. Wow. I wonder if you're talking about Fontself, Vanessa, because I think you might have joined a bit later after we were talking about Fontself. There. And Sean saying, you are working so fast, Philip.
Yeah,
50 minutes in, and it looks like you're like almost there.
No, there are still those letters avoiding.
Yes.
Like the S, I think it could take me about 20 minutes or something like that to get an S that's halfway.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Jason in the chat is asking both of us, do you still use programs like Fontographer as part of this process? Do you use Fontographer? I have it, but haven't used it in a long time.
No, I don't. I've used glyphs and Fontself.
Glyphs, yeah.
But that's basically it.
Yeah. Do you know John Rochelle, the type designer in the US? Do you know John?
No.
Heard of John? He's big on the glyphs app. He's done some crazy mad successful stuff. But he's a bit like me. He's a bit of an old timer. Yeah, that's another one that's tricky, isn't it? Because optically, with A's quite often optically, because of that convergence of those two angles, when you have a bar across the top, it seems to have an alien weight to the rest of the character. It's tricky, isn't it, to get that that bit just right. And if you're happy enough for, I kind of like the narrowing at the top. Just there personally, but I know that some people would, oh no, it's got to be regular the whole way around as if it was drawn with a pen.
Yeah.
To which I would say it's not a script font, nor is it humanist.
Yes, yes. You are. That's right.
Yep. Jason had played around with Fontography years ago, found it very complicated. But that's kind of that's kind of high-end stuff. Fontographer, really. That's the stuff where, you know, you've really got to know what you're doing with that. Drawing the characters is just one thing, but
so it's like an app for Mac.
Yeah, it's an application. It's been around for a long time. Okay. Fontographer. I have another. I think I have one called Type Studio as well somewhere. But again, ever since Fontographer arrived on the scene, I don't think I've touched any of those. No need to. I'm kind of comfy working in Illustrator, and yeah, and of course, Fontself is also available to make bitmap fonts in Photoshop as well. So you can buy a license just for Illustrator, or you can buy one for both applications for just a little bit more, which is nice. And it comes from Paris, which is really good. Nice. And there's just a debate going on about Europe in here, about people saying, you know, outside of Europe, we're still part of Europe, but not politically, is what I'd like to think. We are still part of the non-continental Europe, as Tim's just put on there, continental Europe being the mainland. But geographically, we're definitely still in that area. Yay. Sorry. Oh, no, see, I might have just flipped the, maybe, do you think I'm lazy, Philip? Because I would have probably just flipped the A.
I flipped the A.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I missed that. I was just reading the chat.
You're not lazy.
See?
not much more
definitely
lazy
not
than I
lazy.
am.
Efficient. It's efficient, right? It's not lazy. It's efficient.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Okay.
Now that what you've come across there, that particular thing, the problem you've just come across there, that's one of the downsides of having a shape, an illustrator shape, right, within that way. Because while you get the curve, you would expect at the point where the 2 points overlap that one of them would be removed.
Yeah.
But it's, as you've just discovered, it's not actually the case. So you can find that you move 1 point independently and end up with that awkward angle. And I don't quite know why they've never resolved that, because to me, I think that's something that needs resolving. Yeah. If 2 points occupy the same in X and Y coordinates, then just remove one of the points and keep the path that way. I'll tell you where I came a real cropper with that. And it was actually with some type, was with laser cutting. I was laser cutting something and I'd assembled a short typeface for this particular thing. And I had these curves and there was ever such a tiny bump that I wasn't expecting.
I know.
And so it cut these things out of perspex. And then there was a notch. So I had to go back in, fix it, and then have it all recut. It's annoying.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yep.
They should fix that.
Yeah, I'd really like that. Yeah. So make a quick scan again. Yep. Yep. Getting some agreement with that, with the coincident points would be good.
Yep. So next on, I think the B. I could do a B.
Oh yes. Now that's going to be interesting because everything else has a low bar. Are you going to continue with the low bar on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I will try it, but I think it maybe looks a little bit odd then. But we can just go from a P basically. So the same rectangle with the same corner radius.
Nice.
Oops.
Oh, suddenly got a stencil variant.
It looks cool too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Maybe you could do the lowercase with the stencil variant, and then the uppercase with a filled version.
I can never remember. I'm trying desperately to remember it right now. I can never remember the name of the German character, the bee on a lollipop stick. You know, it's got the
the bee on a lollipop stick.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean the S set?
Yes.
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 Yeah, it kind of looks like this, like a bee, and you would also start with a B to create this letter.
Yep. And thank you, Tim, by the way, for just whispering that in my ear as well. I think it's
they even got a capital
saving my face.
They even got a capital S set now, so you really have to do two versions of that. So it's a little bit.
Oh wow. The German language is so fluid, right? Constant revisions.
Yeah.
Constant changes, but all to make it easier for everybody else, theoretically. Anyway, that's how great is that? Here's a question for you. I wonder if you could make a B work without the bar. Is it sufficient to have the two curves on the right-hand side?
I mean, something like that?
Yeah, like that. Would that work? Oh no, it just looks like a weird D, doesn't it?
We would have to unite those and then maybe. I don't know.
Oh, with a steeper. Yeah.
Huh. That's where the anchor point work comes
to play. Yeah.
Comes to play, right?
Yeah. No, looks a bit Russian.
So that's also something you should decide whether you want to create a font that can be used for many things. I mean, if you're going to plan to commercialize this and try to sell it, you should try to create a font that has a character that looks original, but that it's not looking like too freaky. Because the more character you add, the less use cases you're going to have for that font. And obviously you want to have as many use cases you could have. So
that experimental version of the B wasn't going down very well. Vanessa said, it's weird. Oliver's saying it looks like a pea that's eaten too many pies.
I mean, for a logo word mark, it may just work.
Yeah.
Since it's for a logo.
Yeah, not as part of an actual font. Yeah. Agreed. And Michelle is saying she's really enjoying this stream. Thank you very much, Michelle. She's currently working on her own font, but not making a lot of progress, though.
Okay.
Well, hopefully more after today.
Nice.
Yeah. So a friend of mine is a guy called Thomas Finney. And Thomas used to be the global head of type at Adobe. So he used to look after everything, the whole Adobe font collection, which was a big deal back in the day. And he was a designer. And have you ever come across the font Hypatia?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
So Hypatia was something he worked on for a number of years. And that was something he carried on working on. It was given away for a time. I think you had to send a particular message to Adobe or something, or take part in something, and you'd be given Hypatia Sans as a reward. And Thomas, this guy, he's the guy who was brought into American Congress to determine the validity of a particular document, right? Because people were suspicious of this document. This is going a way back. This has nothing to do with recent administrations, right? This is going a way back. So to determine the validity, and he actually managed to nail it completely by saying, yeah, I can guarantee this document isn't genuine because the typeface being used wasn't invented at the time.
Oh my God.
That this document was meant to have been created. So it was a fake. Epic.
Nice. Epic. That's really cool.
God. That he was just able to look at it and go, no, that's just not real. That was made after that date because that font didn't exist at that time. Cool. But he went right down a rabbit hole with Hypatia. And when I last spoke to him in person, which is a few years ago now, he was actually creating medieval Nordic alternate glyphs. He was going to go. I think he was going to go. What is it you can add into an open type font? It's something like 86,000 characters or something. Because I think he was going to try and exhaust every private use area thing that you got in there.
So kind of like a Japanese font.
It's just bonkers. And this gesture is me scanning through the glyphs panel to try and find what I want. Michelle has Fontself installed and working. Well, that's good news. Excellent. Great. Global head of type. Good title. That was his title. He's a lovely, lovely man. So a really nice guy. And he got the Russian medal for typography given to him by Vladimir Putin.
What?
Incredible. Yeah, serious. He was in Moscow, for this typographic conference, and he was being awarded this medal, and how I do not know, but he ended up being given the medal by Vladimir Putin. It's just crazy.
Hey, that's really crazy.
Yep. Yep. And Tim's saying, for those of you keeping score, we're still missing C, K, M, N, S, U, W, X, and Z.
No, C is right
C's
here.
in there, I think. Yeah, there you go. It's in the price.
Right.
Come on, Tim. Get with the
Oh,
program.
okay, it's missing on here. Maybe he didn't see this part. Okay, K, or should we do the S? I'm really avoiding doing the S because it's like
it's hard work.
It's like yeah. So maybe a K. Yeah.
And Oliver Andrews in the chat has found successfully Hypatia Sans. Yeah, the one you can get on Adobe Fonts, that's not the full set on there, I don't think, Oliver. But it'll be close enough. There'll be loads. Comic Sans. There always has to be somebody who mentions Comic Sans when you're talking type.
Of course.
Yeah. Jeffrey's asking about the document. Thomas Finney in the document. Was it the one that had the TH and ND after the numbers? I don't know. I can't recall that much detail about it, Jeffrey, to be perfectly honest. But it is a thing that you can still find out on there. Another question for you, Philip. This is how font you are in my book. Have you watched Helvetica, the movie?
Yes, I actually did. At university, we had.
Thank you.
But it has been a long time, so I should maybe rewatch it again sometime. But I liked it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've made something that's kind of changed the world, right? If you make a movie about it, it's just, Sandrine's saying, do you know Armenian glyphs? I saw many type designers really go crazy with them. Even in Arial, it looks like works of art. Wow, I'm going to check that out, Sandrine. Thank you. Yeah, just having a quick check through here. There's just random characters now appearing in the in the chat. This is, I think, a wish list of characters I'd like to see. We're good. We've got 22 minutes. You may see that S. We don't know.
I plan to do the full Chinese and Japanese alphabet, and then I will going to do the
S. You'll get to the S when you've done all those. And all the diacritical marks and all of yeah.
Can I just export this font without an S? Yeah. Would it bother anyone? I don't know.
Yep. Z by HP Tech Marketing, Rick, is saying, I hate when the M and W are just the same shape flip. Well, hate is a strong emotion. Maybe you don't like it. But yeah, okay. That's good. So, yeah. Tim's saying the Helvetica movie is a great movie. Good movie. I like the setting. Tim's here all week with the comedy. I'm introducing a new character today, Philip, into the Adobe Live family. And it's called the Octopus of Opinion.
It's new. Okay.
Yeah, it's new. Yeah, the Octopus of Opinion is new. And at the moment, the Octopus of Opinion is glowing orange.
Seems happy, yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very happy with this. It's really good.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely loving that. What we don't want when we get to the S is him to go like...
Oh, I'm afraid you will have to show this guy.
Oh, so good. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. So good.
Well, I'm not sure about the K, but which letters do we have still left?
I think Tim will update us in a second. Let's put the onus there on Tim to have a look.
We're missing the X. Of course, we have to do.
Well, I've got the M as well. The M.
Oh,
I always wonder with the K, the leg on the K. Do you? My personal preference is I give it a tiny little bit of extra weight, so that it can carry that arm outwards. That's. Yeah. Where are you on that? Do you see what firstly? I mean, I'm sure you see where I'm coming from, but I just think that the leg at the bottom carrying that arm.
Yeah, definitely. It's the same with a B, where you're going to create this upper part in a lower aspect.
Yeah.
Than the lower part, and I totally agree. And I'm also not really happy with the K as it is right now, but
there you go.
Let's go on.
Yep. He has 8 opinions at any one time, just in case. That's the octopus of opinion. And do you have any? Now that's a very good question from Sean in the chat. Not that the other questions aren't good, but this one just happens to be very good at the moment. Do you have any plans for the font that you're creating here, or is this just purely for demonstration, or are you going to turn it into a thing?
That's actually a good question. I don't really know. I think I will develop this into a font because I already have created so many characteristics now. So
call it Adobe Live.
Yeah. If you have any name suggestions, please let me know.
There you go, chat. See if you can come up with that. And Tim's just updated us with the missing character grid. We are missing M, N, S, U, W, X, and Z.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
It's quite a few. Yeah. All right, we're good. We've still got a good 18 minutes yet, and some change if we need it. Because without them, you could never spell swum. Yep. Oh, that's a good point. Actually, Tim's just mentioned posting things on Discord. Don't forget, everyone, we do have our own Discord server. Come along and join us on there. Tim's just going to drop the address for that in the chat, and people on there chat. I haven't been on actually for a little while, but I'll make sure I go on today after I watch a couple of other things this afternoon. So join us on Discord. Come along, chat, show some of your work. That's where we put our stream submissions as well when we ask them. So if you're working on a font of your own, maybe you'll take a screenshot of it and pop it onto Discord. That would be really nice to see. Steve's just created a name that could possibly be the worst font in history. Right.
That makes sense too.
No. Worse than that. It's worse than that.
Okay.
Comic Papyrus.
Yeah, you can't top that. It's just
that is the ultimate baddie. Font world. I used to know somebody. If you're watching, hi Kim. I still don't like Papyrus.
Do you know that SNL sketch about Papyrus?
Yeah, seen it. Have you seen the Comic Sans one? Oh, this is very, very old. You'll only be able to watch it in tiny. It was the it's the Comic Sans to save the day, and it's where I'll have to see if I can remember where that is at some point. I'm struggling to remember. It's it's not Adult Swim. College Humor did a thing on Comic Sans that was very, very funny.
Yeah. It somehow rings a bell. Yeah.
Oh my word!
Comic
Papyrus is actually a thing.
What?
I know. I'm going to look at it right now. So if I scream,
so you can actually download that font and use it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Who does
man.
something gruesome like that?
Don't know. Somebody who requires help. Oh, no. It's not as dreadful as you might think. It still basically looks like Comic Sans. But they're using Comic Papyrus in Avatar. I know the font designer from Avatar, Reverb Mike, and I'm gonna send him round to your house. He'll be wanting to chat to you about that statement.
So they are not using Papyrus for the next one, right? It's like a different logo.
It's a custom font. It's not. It looks very papyrusy, but it's not Papyrus. That Comic Papyrus thing has set the chat on fire. It exists. It lives. Frankenfont.
Okay, I'm doing it now. I'm creating the S.
Okay, here we go. Now I'm very interested to see, and Sandrine's mentioning the Papyrus sketch on Saturday Night Live as well. So, as is Rick. Yeah, so I want to see your method for this one. I'm interested.
Yeah, so basically an S bases on an O, and it kind of looks like this, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So we just have to subtract those two rectangles in theory, and then connect the middle part, right? Well, yeah. Just
here comes the tense music, says Tim. Cue the tense music.
Oh.
We ought to have a bit of a heartbeat in there.
You can just take mine.
Oh, I feel like you're about to cut the green or the red wire. It's the green one.
No.
No, Tony, it's always the red one. Or the Jaws theme. Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Sandrine going, he's alive. Jason's feeling the tension. Which we're actually generating, by the way. Philip is just carrying on doing his job, perfectly normal. We're the ones who are putting all the pressure on. And I apologize. I'm very sorry.
It's fine.
But, it's Wednesday. Let's have some fun. Here we go. Ah, excellent. Bit of a bell. I'll take it you could hear the music there, Philip.
Yeah, I've heard it.
It's the music.
Help.
It doesn't help. It's actually the music that is on for. We have game shows here, host versus host game shows. Basically, It's me against my friend Maddie, who is super competitive. She cannot bear to lose things, but Tim puts this music on when we have couple of questions rounds in the thing. It's normally at holiday time, so like Christmas and Halloween and hopefully Easter. And a few other holidays that I'm going to find and just put forward. But we have that music in the background just to heighten the moment.
It's very good. It fits.
Yep. Have you seen, this is a book I was talking with the other day with a friend of mine. Have you seen the book Typeset in the Future?
No.
Have you seen that one? So it's one where a series of television programs and films influenced modern type. So Star Trek, for example, at the very beginning, had very different. And the reason I think that's popped into mind is because that oblique angle that you're using for the connection there is very, very Star Trek.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but no, that's an interesting book. It's got things from Total Recall, Star Trek. I think Blade Runner's in there. I can't remember now. But there's plenty of content in there, and interesting to see how that has influenced type design for other things.
It sounds very cool. Yeah.
Stefan is saying Easter event, Tony. Was this a spoiler? Kind of, Stefan, because now I've put it out there, it means that Emma, who's watching, may think, oh yeah, perhaps we should have one. And Oliver's just pasted a link to typesetinthefuture.com. So I have to ask you as well, dream job. What would put us in terms of putting things out there? Let's say you could command at will somebody to come to you with a particular job. What is there a job that you think, oh yeah, I would have to have that job?
Oh, that's a good one. So while I love doing type design, I also like UI UX design. So it would probably maybe be an interface design for something, very innovative. Like, for example, if Tesla would like me to.
Oh yeah, because you love Teslas, don't you?
Yes. If they wanted me to create a new UI UX interface for their cars, I think that would be my dream job. But
would it? Well, it's out there now. Now it's on the internet. It's out there. And I did clock, by the way, the XD cushion behind your left shoulder there.
Yeah, I got that for my first stream in Paris, actually.
Yeah. And of course I saw that. And on your Twitter, it mentions and I think your Twitter cover is a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Let's see if the phone rings later on and someone says, hi, it's Elon. So what would you do? Elon would ask you questions like, so what would you do that would change what we've done already? That's what he's going to ask. How would you do it? Maybe you should, you're on Dribbble. Maybe you should put that out there.
I actually created a concept for Behance, and it got featured in the graphic design, I think, the UI section.
Okay.
And
I have yet to see that, so I'll go and have a look at that straight after.
I actually did something similar like that. So I imagined a future version when cars can drive fully autonomously. It's also a good idea to have some ideas for the present.
Yeah. When cars can drive autonomously, I think all I want is YouTube and Netflix.
It's on there actually right now, so you just.
I know, but I mean, I just want. Yeah, I can't really watch it.
Watch it while driving. Yeah,
it's kind of dangerous.
It'll happen.
It will. I think it was Jason. So we have a TV show here called Countdown. This is a totally off-grid question, by the way, where people call for consonants and vowels, and then they get a collection of, I think it's 8 letters, and they have to make the best word they can from that. Do you have that in Germany? Is there a version of that?
No.
Germany? No.
I know the British version, but I never seen it before. But I know that it's out there, but we don't have anything similar.
Nothing like that in Germany. No.
Do you know the British TV series IT Crowd?
Yes, I do.
I think Countdown is being featured there in one episode, right?
Ah, right. Okay, quite possibly.
Yeah.
I used to love that show.
Yeah, me too.
So good. Richard Ayoade's fantastic.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, very good. And that's quite a while ago, that.
I keep rewatching this series like once or 2 times a year.
Yep. Reverb Mike doesn't want a robot driving his car. Not even if it was one of the one. Which was it? Which film is it in? Where there's like literally a plastic cabbie in front of one of the taxis, that just, with a sort of a nutcracker jaw going hi. There is one. I can't remember.
Sounds like a good movie.
Yeah. I think because somebody trashes it in the. I can't remember. Tim says no. We would also probably have more than 25 letters. True. You could have it in Russian. You've got 30. Then 2 of which don't make any sounds at all. They're just modifiers. I guess that's kind of like German, right? You have some things that don't actually make a sound, but they change the sound of the words around it.
Yeah.
Or letters around it. Yeah. The underground lunch countdown. Brilliant. The internet is a black box with a flashing light. Probably. Whatever the thing, the robot thing, it was called Johnny Cab. Not the movie, but the taxi was called Johnny Cab. Oh, there you go. Total Recall.
Oh, okay. I've seen that one.
Yeah. We've mentioned Total Recall. I did a little while ago.
Old one from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. They're all chiming in now. Total Recall. Yeah, absolutely.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Again, that's in that typeset in the future book. It's quite a chunk on that. And it's the fact that the lack of prominence in the movie, they're on interfaces in all of the different elements. I mean, Star Trek, that was in the titles and the end titles for each episode, the original series. But other things that have influenced it, like Total Recall, those things were essentially inside of interfaces and on newspapers, like a version of an imagined future version of the newspaper USA Today, for example, and things like that. So really, it's amazing the depth that these things go into to create believability. And type is in there, you know. So we've just got about 3 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
No, we're good. We're good.
So maybe I could just show Fontself.
If you want to, yeah, absolutely.
I really can't create the full font now.
Yeah.
But I could show you the plugin.
Yep.
How that looks.
Yep.
And it really is just drag and drop. It's so simple. You just have to create each letter as a group, and then you have to have 26 groups. Yep. And then you can just select them. And once I select those shapes.
And it needs those guides as well, right? It needs a baseline and right. The baseline is the bare minimum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. And if I would have 26 groups now, I would be able to just drag it into A to Z, to Z,
uppercase,
uppercase and lowercase, and the numbers. And then I can also just drag it into any character, which is manually putting in some special characters, and then it would import those.
Yeah, and you can do alternates as well in there. So
ligatures as well.
Yeah,
and even color fonts.
Yeah,
so fonts, as you also mentioned, and it has so many features for that small plugin and that small interface, I really can highly recommend it.
Yeah, Monica Gausser, German illustrator, who was on a while ago here. I don't know if you've come across Monica, or if you know Monica, illustrator Wiz. She did a nice color font, one of the early color fonts for Fontself. I've done one called Typography, which is not available at the moment. Yeah, well, I'll send you a link because it's
cool.
At the moment.
Of course.
The although you can get a short version of it with one of my courses. There's a short version that you get as a file, but
cool. So I think there's only time to just show the font again, and there's there are a lot of characters I'm not happy with, like the S doesn't really fit in there. But again, the S takes hours, maybe even days, so it will look completely different to the S you're seeing right now. So it is a long process, but you also maybe saw that it can be very easy at times, can be very quick to get those shapes and those letters standing So it's a lot of fun.
It is great. And thank you so much for joining us today, Philip, and for sharing.
Thank you so much for hosting and for having me.
Oh man, it's been great. Really, really enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll be back with us soon for some more of this. It's been nice to do a bit of type nerding here. You've inspired a lot of people to start, looking at making their own, and the people who are already in that process, I think you've helped a lot, and people are thanking you and saying, they've really, really enjoyed today. So again, thank you. Now, coming up next week, I need to mention what's going on. On Monday, Tim himself is giving us a crash course on keyframes in After Effects. And you think, keyframes are just like one thing, aren't they? Oh, no. So much more to learn. And Tim will be unrolling all of that on Monday. On Tuesday, it's a Winter Olympics illustration session with Rachel Presky and Karina Lindmeyer. That's going to be epic. Don't miss that. And on Wednesday, Gavin Campbell is back with that Tony Harmer guy again. I don't know what all that's about, but hey ho. So there you go. That's what's coming up next week. But for now, it just remains from myself and from Philip to say cheerio. Have a great rest of your week and stay safe and be happy and start making fonts.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care now. Bye-bye.
You've got to